radio network at ParanormalKing.com.
Welcome to the Paranormal News Insider for the week of May 7th, 2019. And this is officially episode number 393. And this is your host, Dr. Brian D. Parsons. And we are live here on the Paranormal King radio network at ParanormalKing.com. And welcome to the show. It's interesting. Weather is finally getting warmer around here. I don't know what's going on. It's actually springtime finally. Interesting. Here in Northeast Ohio. And over the weekend, last weekend, I had the chance to drive up to Michigan. And it's a sore subject between people in Ohio and Michigan. We don't like each other for some reason. I think it's all got to do with something with football. But I was able to visit a location. I've been talking about it for a few weeks, and apparently I was saying it wrong. I was saying Houghton Lake, but apparently it's Houghton Lake. It's one of those regional things. People, here in Ohio, we have plenty of things that we pronounce very, very strange. So the Houghton Lake, Michigan event, which was the Haunted Heights Paracon 2019, took place over the weekend, May 3rd and 4th. And my topic was on UFOs and UFO research and investigation methods. And I tried to keep it kind of geared towards those who investigate ghosts, because there was plenty of people there who were from the ghost field. So I tried to kind of angle it to that, to where some of the people could relate to that. But it was very, very well received about UFOs. There are plenty of questions about cover-ups and conspiracies, as there normally is, and also talking about some of the timely subjects. So I had a good time. I had, unfortunately, I had to kind of cut out of there a little early. I had some stuff going on Sunday, so I didn't get to stay for the entire event. And I actually missed some stuff on Friday, too. I was a little late getting out there. It's a pretty far drive for me, about 5.5 hours. Took me a little longer because of some construction, so I got in a little later than I thought. And I got to missed talking about crystal skulls. And Daniel Mackin, who was the MC for the weekend's events, he talked about haunts of northern Michigan. And I was about, more than halfway north. It's over 200 miles from the Ohio border. So I guess that's pretty far up there, up in Michigan. Wasn't, still in that little paw print. It wasn't up there in the other little part of Michigan that's hanging out up there above the lakes, but still pretty far up there. That's pretty neat. We started things off Saturday morning. It was a little chilly. It's like in the 30s. It was cold. We had some really interesting speakers, and it wasn't too terribly crowded, so I was able to kind of sneak away and listen to the speakers, which I like to do. And we heard Brian Danhausen talk about Into the Afterlife, Chatan Noir, who's we know a lot of the same people. She talked cryptozoology, talked about Great Lakes monsters, and also talked about the Loveland Frog, which is near and dear to me here in Ohio, Loveland, Ohio. I thought that was pretty awesome. Then I was up right after lunch. Everyone was a little bit, you eat lunch, you're sitting around all day. People were tired, so I had to entertain them. I had to juggle fire, kittens that were on fire. No, I didn't. But I tried to keep people going, keep people geared into what was going on, and was one of the first with the PowerPoint presentation. So really got their attention with that. We heard James Allen Ross talk about The Haunting of Dylan Claypool. It's his work of fiction. It's sounded really, really interesting, and people were going nuts over this book. So James Allen Ross, look it up on Amazon. Check out his book, The Haunting of Dylan Claypool. Sounds really, really interesting. I didn't get a chance. I thought about it. I didn't pull the trigger on getting a copy, but maybe I'll get one. Also in attendance was Eggsy Smith. She talked about strange tales from the edge of reality. Sounds like the story of my life. Then they had Dan and Becca Smith. This was an interesting couple. We were talking about paranormal tech, imagining the future. It was really, really interesting because normally you talk about tech And I get a little annoyed and irritated because people have a little bit too high expectation of how this stuff really works. But they were really down to earth with it and really talking about how things worked. And with this technology, also what we can expect in the future. And it's, I don't think that answers of the paranormal will be found with technology. I think it's going to be found through observation and maybe through technology, but not technology that you're going to bring into a haunted location. But they had some really, really good things of looking toward the future of how things can go. And another group here that I recommend you find them online. They run the HOPE Initiative, which stands for Heuristic Observations of Parascientific Existentialism. Quite a mouthful. HOPE Initiative, check them out on Facebook, and you can get a little bit more information about Dan and Becca Smith. Then you had Todd Clements talking about ghosts and cryptids of Mackinac. Some really interesting stuff, and I love going to these locations because I get to learn a little bit about the local history of this stuff, of the paranormal and different types of cultural beliefs they have, regional here and there. And I've been everywhere from Maryland to Florida to Texas to Oklahoma to all points in between, listening to these paranormal conferences and conventions. And honestly, one of the first times that I can remember being in Michigan, let alone northern Michigan. So it was really cool to hear about Mackinac Island and some of the things that are going on up there in the world of hauntings. Then Rhonda and Jason Spears, they hosted this event, and thank you to them for the great show that they put on. It was kind of in a really interesting location. This inn was actually, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought it was more of a restaurant type thing, but it ended up, it was like a bar, but it was pretty cool. We're on stage, so I was like, anyone have a request? I'll play some Skynyrd. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't play Skynyrd. I didn't bring my guitar or anything, but it was really interesting location, and being within the site of the Houghton Lake really gave you that nautical feel. It really felt really different than what I've ever felt in a paranormal convention. So I thought it was a really good location, haunted location, and a really good show overall. And I was really impressed with it. It wasn't meant to be hundreds of people packing the location. It was meant to be a smaller event, a smaller venue, and I think they pulled it off. I think they did a fantastic job. And yeah, thanks again. And if you are interested in going to a paranormal conference or convention, which I know you are, got to be, check out my list of events at paranewsinsider.com and click on the events tab at the top. It looks like I've got to update it. There's a few that happened last weekend that I've not crossed off the list. And got a couple of cool ones coming up this weekend that if you're in the area, well, it looks like one of them is actually a cruise. How fun would that be? The Wicked Waters Cruise departs this weekend. Looks like, I guess it's May 10th, Friday. Departs Boston, Massachusetts on the Norwegian Gem, which is pretty cool. I've been on the sister ships, Norwegian Pearl and Norwegian Jewel, in the last few years, and was just on the Norwegian Dawn just about 2 months ago. Sounds pretty cool. You go to Bermuda and you get to hang out with some speakers there, and probably a lot of other entertainment on the ship as well. And a couple nights in Bermuda sounds like fun to me. Then you also have, it's coming up, the Midwest Parafest from Toledo, Ohio. We just went through that area twice, once on Friday, once on Sunday. You're going to have Katrina Weidman, who is a paranormal researcher, investigator. She was on Paranormal State. So Paranormal Research Society. She went to Pennsylvania State University. Also on Paranormal Lockdown. Trying to remember what else. I think that's it. Probably a few things I missed. Also, Jeff Bellinger will be there as well. He's been around quite a long time. And Mark DeWorth will also be there, Bigfoot investigator with the BFRO. And let's see, what else can I think of here? I think that's it. That's all I remember. But yeah, definitely check out the list of conferences, conventions. And if there's one going on in your area, you might want to think about going. But don't wait, because sometimes tickets sell out way in advance, just like they did with the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Camping Adventure, which I talked about. Yeah, I already went on my cruise. Actually took off on March 17th, so St. Patrick's Day. I wore green on the ship, which I don't know if that's good luck or bad luck, but yeah, I had fun. And don't worry, I don't plan on going on a cruise for a while now. Maybe sometime, I don't know. I actually have a deposit that I have to use pretty soon, so maybe I'll be going on another adventure. Maybe I should have went on the haunted cruise. That would have been fun. Yeah, but no plans right now. And yeah, like I was mentioning, the PA Bigfoot Camping Adventure, I think there's a handful of tickets left, not many, if any, at this point. So if you're planning on going, you better find out quick if there's any tickets left. Big event coming up. You got Cliff Barackman, Ken Gerhard, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Bill Brock, and a lot of other big-name guys. Stacey Brown Jr. will also be there, not to mention 12 and a half speakers, including yours truly. I'll be there speaking on Saturday, and really looking forward to this. It's going to be a very big event. This is the third time this one has been taking place, and this is going to be by far the best. And that's a lot to say, because I've had a blast. The first one I went to was probably the best paranormal convention I've ever been to, just because of the way it was handled, just because of what we got to do, and how we got to get out there in the field with the attendees. It was a lot of fun, and definitely looking forward to this one. Even last year was, or not last year, the year before, he took a break last year. Eric Altman, who's putting this on, which I don't blame him. It's a lot of work to put one of these things on. And yeah, the year before it was even hailing out, and we still had a hail of a good time out there. Yeah, I didn't curse. But anyway, so check out those events, and if you have any information about any paranormal conference or convention that's not on my list, and again, I break them down by ghost conferences, UFO events, as well as cryptid events. So they're separated by the major theme that they fall under. But again, if you don't see it there and you know of one, I can't be everywhere. I wish I could. I don't have time to look everything up. There's probably hundreds that I've missed. But I'll be happy to put that on that list and talk about it here on the show. Yes. Looks like our chat room has exploded. Not sure what happened there. Interesting. Anyway, we're going to move to cryptid news. And we have kind of a little bit of an update on that Yeti story that's been going on for a while. The Yeti made headlines last week as the Indian Army tweeted out that they found proof of the mythical creature. It's there. We found it. They said, well, actually, they found tracks. I stated during the show last week that many times these tracks are nothing more than bear tracks. And it seems like many have chimed in and said the same exact thing that I did as well. So Nepal's military stepped up and said the tracks discovered were more than likely created, yes, by bears. Wildlife experts said many times these tracks become elongated by the wind and appear to be larger than what they were. That'll also occur when they melt. Even if it's cold outside, if there is any melt, if sun hits this, any kind of track, it will melt and it will become a little larger than what it was originally. So that does happen. It's natural. Trust me. I know a lot about snow. I live in Ohio. A Nepalese military spokesman stated they attempted to gather more information on the tracks, but when they got there to the location, the tracks were gone. They vanished. They just got up and walked away, I guess. Wait, they don't do that. They just were gone. So I would have to say, I think we can confidently say that these were not Yeti tracks. And we finally have the bare truth. Yes, the bare truth. Was that funny? Barely. Barely. Don't worry. Don't worry. I won't say anymore. That was really horrible. Don't worry. I can't bear these jokes at times either. But I'm bummed. Anyway, we got to move on from that. That was horrible. That's my dry humor. Love it or leave it. Don't leave it. We put the link in the chat room. Not sure what's going on. Chat room's out of control here. Not sure what's happening. But yeah, you can tune in live listening to the show, and you can also join us in the chat room and have fun and see if this works. Sometimes it doesn't work. So here's the update on the... Yeah, it's not working. That's cool. That's fine. Moving along. UFO news now. This is kind of weird. I missed out last year. I think it was... gosh, what month was that? November. November. Suddenly, I did not get anything from MUFON about sighting statistics for the month of November. But all of a sudden, I'm getting them like quicker and quicker. Now, it used to be when I was a member of MUFON, and I knew some of the other actual investigators from MUFON, I could get the sighting statistics the day after they were posted, which was the first day of the month, basically. I could get my hands on these sighting statistics. But now I have to wait generally till almost the end of the month. But I've already gotten a hold of the sighting statistics for April. And yeah, we're only in the first week of May. So this is exciting. And again, don't forget, MUFON is celebrating their 50th year of existence this month. So the month of May, they turn 50. I'm starting to see some gray hair there, MUFON. Yes. So, yes, gray hair. And let's see. So we have... last year. So looking at last year, April was actually the lowest month for sighting reports with 546 total worldwide reports. And yeah, I just refreshed the chat room, and I think it's okay now. So if you're listening and you're on there, refresh. I think it'll be okay. So yeah, April statistically not been a very favorable month for sighting statistics for MUFON. 546 last year, and that was the lowest amount of cases reported in a single month since the previous April, where there was just 529 worldwide reports. So pretty weak, and I don't know why. I don't have an answer as to why April would be so bad. I don't know. April showers? Maybe it's cloudy in April. I mean, it can't be like all over the place, but I don't know. So this month, MUFON had a total of 483 total worldwide reports. Shocking. 483 total worldwide reports. This represents the single lowest total since March of 2017, where there's 478 worldwide sightings. And again, I don't know why such a heavy dip here in the month of April, but we'll see it rise again next month. I pretty much guarantee you that, hopefully. Or that's some interesting stuff that's happening. If it continues to go down, that's a big scary thing here. So of these 483 worldwide sightings, 354 were from the United States. The United Kingdom was second with 43 sightings. Canada had 15. Australia had 10. India had 8. Costa Rica had 5. Good job, guys. And 31 other countries turned in 3 or less reports with 18 of those 31 only turning in one report each. And we break down the U.S. states, and of course, California was number one with 40, as they should be, because really they're number one in state population. So technically, by math statistics, they should be number one. Texas was next with 39. Florida had 29. Then we drop all the way to 20 with Ohio. Pennsylvania had 19. Arizona had 14. New York had 12. Washington and Tennessee had 11 each. Colorado and North Carolina had 10 each. And Nevada and Michigan were tied with 9. And with such a low number, it's a little lower than what I'm used to. So, yeah, it's a lot lower than I thought, or normally is. So I'm going to still do the per capita statistics, and yeah, it's a little bit short here. Let me look up. There's a question in chat about Puerto Rico. Is Puerto Rico? Let me look through this country statistics. No, so Puerto Rico is actually looked at as, even though it's a U.S. territory, it's listed in the sightings by country as separate. So let's take for April, for example, looking at the sightings by country. Again, the United States had 354, United Kingdom 43, Canada 15, Australia 10, India 8, Costa Rica 5, Brazil, China, and Poland, as well as Germany, had 3. And then you had a handful of countries here with 2: Colombia, Mexico, Japan, the Ukraine, New Zealand, Argentina, Spain, Norway, and last but not least, our friends in Puerto Rico. So they do have that separate here. That's the only one I don't see. I know I've seen in years past, I've seen St. Thomas was on here as well, which is also a U.S. territory, but they had it also Virgin Islands here last month had one sighting. So I don't know why they do that, but they keep them separate. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I noticed that a few months ago when I think it was St. Thomas. I was like, wait a minute. I was just there. They got a U.S. flag and everything. Anyway, looking at the per capita statistics, again, it's pretty weak, especially when you're looking at per 100,000 people. California, again, the number one state in population, also the number one state with numbers, kind of use that as a baseline. So since it's, again, number one state, number one usually reporting state, not always, but generally is, we look at that. So we take the number of sightings, we divide it by the population, the estimated population of the state, then we multiply it by 100,000, because that's generally what you do for per capita. So per 100,000 people in that state. So that translates to a 0.104 per capita. So yeah, 10% of a person, basically. So somebody's left leg reported a UFO. Well, not their left leg, but you know what I mean. It's not even one person per 100,000. It's 10% of that. So what is that? I don't know. My math is a little fuzzy. 1 in a million? I think. I don't know. It's a very small number. It's very minuscule. It's probably why MUFON used to do this per capita stuff, and they don't do it anymore. Maybe it's just too much time in math. It doesn't take me that long. I don't know. Yeah, back to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, it's listed as a country, which I don't understand that. It's a U.S. territory. But then again, it's not a state, so I get that. All right. Anyway, moving on. Let's see. So I had California, again, 0.104. Then we look at Texas, second in state population. They finished with 39 sightings. That translates to a 0.136. So a little less population and a little less sightings, but a little higher per capita than California. Ohio Number 7 in state population turned in a .171 with 20 sightings. Arizona, 14th in state population. Strange. They had 14 sightings as well, and that translates to a .195 per capita. Arkansas, number 33 in state population, turned in a .232 with a whopping 7 sightings. Montana, number 43 in state population, they had a .282 with 3 sightings. Nevada, number 32 in state population, they had a .297 per capita with 9 sightings. And we go all the way almost to the bottom of the list, Vermont. Yes, Vermont with their pancake syrup, number 49 in state population, and they had a whopping 2 sightings. But those 2 sightings were good enough to post a .319 per capita. Go up slightly to North Dakota. I don't know what they're famous for. Not pancake syrup. Maybe dinosaurs? Bones? I don't know. Number 47 in state population. They had a .395 with 3 sightings. And South Dakota, I guess the southern neighbor of North Dakota. I guess that's what they're known for, maybe. I don't know. Bison? Elk? Mountains? Snow? South Dakota, number 46 in state population. They had a whopping .567 with just 5 sightings. That's all it takes. 5 sightings, and they had that big of a per capita, .567. So just over 1 person per 200,000 people reported a UFO. Yeah, I know it's not really statistically significant when you're talking about people reporting certain things or certain phenomena, but still interesting to look at, and it's still higher than these other states. I don't know. I just find it interesting to break down that per capita. I think it is really interesting to look at that. And yeah, the numbers are down here for April, and it's normally it would be concerning. You look back to January, they had a total of 598 sightings, 391 in the U.S., 572 in February with 392 in the United States. March, 580, second highest total of the year, with 400 here in the United States. So it's not too far off of where it's been. You look back to last year, and last year was 690 for January total, 548 for February, 640 for March, and again I mentioned 546 total sightings. So it's they're down from last year, I think, overall. So that's scary. But when I thought that possibly Project Blue Book would give a push to sighting statistics, and we'll see what all this, dare I say, mess that's going on with the To These Stars Academy that they're creating with all these stories and things that they're trying to take credit for and try to get attention for, because they're having a TV show coming out pretty soon. It's sad. People have to act like that for attention. But anyway, yes, MUFON sighting statistics really our only gauge of what's going on up there in the skies, unfortunately. It's all we really kind of have to go on. Slipping a little bit here, so we'll keep an eye on it. Hopefully we'll have the May reports not too far after the calendar flips to June next month. So now we move to ghost news. Uh-oh. We haven't had ghost news in a while, and I figured, what a better time. Not that I make the news makes itself. I'm just here to report it. But just after coming from a haunted place over the weekend and coming from basically a ghost convention, and why not? But not really the greatest news one could have about ghosts. Again, I was at, I just remember, okay, it just hit me. Clive and Dot's Anchor Inn is what it was called in Houghton Lake, Michigan. I was trying to remember what it was called. And we had a good time, and it was all legal and legit, but the ghost news here, we have some troubling stories. Well, one troubling story here. So Fox 35 in Orlando reported a very sad story last Thursday. The Hungerford Preparatory High School in Eaton, Florida, well, it shut down 8 years ago, but has since been converted to a community center, which holds youth programs, food drives, and other community-focused events in various parts of the building. Well, in the last 9 months, so the school has been open, the school closed, and it's been converted, I believe it was converted just a few months after shutting down, 8 years ago. But all of a sudden, in just the last 9 months, officials and police have seen a vast increase in vandalism at the center. So vandals have broken into the building, spray painted graffiti on the walls, damaged the building, and even broke into the utility shed and cut the power to the facility. Now, the cost to fix the wiring damage alone, just the wiring damage, is estimated to be at around $52,000. So $52,000. That doesn't include all of the broken windows, again, graffiti damage, as well as the structural damage done to the building by people breaking in and vandalizing it. So in the last 8 years, there's never been any issue with the building. So why now? Why would they have issues now? Well, nearly a dozen arrests have been made as police were forced to step up patrols, and the Eaton Police Department now knows why the building suddenly became a hotspot for break-ins. And you may have guessed it. Apparently, a YouTube video, thank you, social media, a YouTube video published in August of last year purported that the building was haunted. Also, websites such as Abandoned Florida, which I saw for myself, claim that the site is not in use. So nobody is aware that it's actually being used by the community. That doesn't excuse people for breaking into the location, though. Whether it's abandoned or not, trespassing is trespassing. And heck, I even checked the Wikipedia page for this school, and it states that the school closed its doors in 2010, and it makes no mention of the building being in use. I probably have to, maybe I'll edit that later with some links to the stories. Since the video was posted in late August, there's been a steady flow of traffic in and around the building from people breaking into the facility. And again, ghost hunting is to blame for this horrible behavior. People breaking in, trying to get experience of a haunting. And some people, like I said, going way out of their way, cutting power to the facility. It's just crazy. I mean, why on earth would people do this? It's upsetting. It's really, it's not cool. I mean, just because a place purports it's haunted doesn't mean that it is haunted. And even if a building says it's abandoned, if you have to break in through stuff, if you have to break windows, if you have to climb fencing, you're on private property. And yeah, I wish they had electric fences. That would be funny to report that. Maybe some dogs. Big dogs that haven't been fed in weeks. That would be fun. So, Detective Broderick Lampkin stated during the interview with News 6, he said about the internet rumors, he says, quote, "They made believe there were ghosts and goblins inside the building, at which point when groups of people decided to make this an experience," unquote. Well, I'm pretty sure about the ghosts. Okay, I get it. There's probably, there could be ghosts. I'm not saying it's haunted. But goblins? I'm not sure about the goblins. I don't think I've ever experienced the goblin. Now, Eatonville Recreational Coordinator Parisha Johnson said, quote, "There are no ghosts here. There's never been any kind of foul play done on the property at all. So it's all a hoax," unquote. Yeah, so it's all a hoax. The city is hoping to salvage the building and property, but already the overall damages could be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages. And as I mentioned, police have stepped up patrols, and many have been arrested. I think they're almost up to, I think the last I checked was about a dozen people have been arrested for entering the facility illegally, and police are warning people that they will face criminal trespass charges if they are caught. And last I checked, all of that information is still up on all these websites. So I think that's their first step. Get it taken off of these websites. Haunted Florida and this YouTube video, at least have a disclaimer on there, something to let people know not to go into these people. Yeah, thanks, Jim. Jim Mallard pointing out, yes, hoping that they, too bad they didn't have a shocking good time from cutting the power. I guess I know what you meant, yeah. I still think it would have been great to have an electric fence there, but yeah, I mean, if you're going to cut power, I mean, these guys mangled these wires. I'm really surprised that nobody got killed from that, to be honest. I just mangled it. You see pictures of this in the videos. It's just horrible. Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, I understand it. People want to experience these things. Yeah, you have to pay pretty much anywhere you go for this stuff, but I don't understand what gives people the thought process that they can enter a building at will that's on private property. Just because it's abandoned doesn't mean you can just waltz in there. Doesn't mean you can take an axe and cut the power. Doesn't mean that you can walk around and spray graffiti everywhere. It's sad. It's actually a very historical location, area, Eatonville. And Eatonville is actually 6 miles north of Orlando. No word on if there was sightings of 7-foot-tall mice in the building. Yeah, I mean, you want a good haunted time? Yeah, you're gonna have to spend $400 more, but Disney World is right up the road. They got a mansion that's haunted, and it's pretty cool. They have real ghosts in there. Well, not real ghosts. It's called Pepper's Ghost. Pepper's Ghost, if you know anything about Pepper's Ghost. I was actually talking about it this weekend. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so not good news from the ghost field, and people should be ashamed of themselves. And I'm glad that trespass charges are being put down on all of that, because people do need to be held accountable for that. And I know that it's not reflective of the entire community, but nonetheless, I've heard that there were some paranormal groups that were involved in this. Nobody's been blacklisted as far as I know. But hopefully, if there are groups that were involved in that they are blacklisted from the paranormal. And hopefully they're not doing client-based cases, because that would be really, really bad news for them to find out that they got arrested for breaking and entering. Yikes. Yeah, let's kick them out. We need a fraternity of ghost investigators. I'm all for it. I'm all for licensing. I'm all for forced training somehow, some way. I don't know who's going to head that up, though. That's the problem. Because if you have to license people, they would have to go through some sort of training, or maybe the states could just, we'd have to pay a yearly fee. I'm all for that, too. Why not? Keep a lot of cruddy people on. Yeah. Anyway, moving along to other news. And, yeah, the paranormal. I don't know what's going on. I mean, yeah, we've had some exciting UFO news lately with all these videos coming out, and the U.S. Navy talking about the new reporting system, and the To the Stars Academy trying to get involved with that. And Also, this Yeti announcement last week was kind of a letdown. I mean, we knew it was happening. Other than that, it's been actually pretty quiet. But there are some other stories here. And I used to do a segment called Strange Earth Stories. But looking at some of these other weird stuff that's out there, it's not really paranormal, but I think it's really, really interesting. So I might start throwing some of these stories in here when the paranormal dries up a little bit. And this is really, really weird in more than one way, because this was actually fairly close to where I live, and I was kind of surprised to see this mentioned. And I had no idea how this story was actually happening close to me. So you may remember, if you've been listening to the show for a while, back in January, I took a little vacation. I think I probably took 2 weeks off in January. But I took a trip out to Arizona. So I flew out to Phoenix for a week and got to play baseball at the Cleveland Indians training facility, and had a great time. Now, prior to that, I would drive in my car, and I would shut my car off, right? And I would hear a dinging sound. So the bell inside the car would make this sound 5 times whenever I shut my car off. And I couldn't figure it out. I looked through the owner's manual. I Googled the symptoms. I asked a few people that owned the same car. Nobody could tell me exactly what was going on, and I was really stumped. I had no clue. Could not figure this out, and I figured it was something simple, but I didn't really have too much time to brainstorm, and I only, maybe about a week, 10 days or something, and couldn't figure this out. Well, when I came back from my trip from Arizona, I finally figured it out. So again, I had a great trip out there. Everything went as planned, despite a major snowstorm that had shut down flights literally just a couple of hours after I left Cleveland. The storm system moved in and basically shut down flights. People were flying out to Arizona on Monday. They were 2 days late going out there. So I lucked out. Coming home, returning from the trip, no problem, getting my bags and everything, and found my car really, really quick. I was really happy with how quickly everything turned out. But when I found my car in the parking garage, I walked up to it, and normally I can just, with the key fob in my pocket, all I have to do is just open the back trunk, and it opens. Well, it didn't open. And also the lights didn't come on inside the car. And I thought, well, that's not normal. So my key is actually it's electronic key, and I can get into it with that, but it wasn't working. So I actually can pull part of it out and physically get into the vehicle, but I can't start it with that. So I was able to get in the car, and I was wondering maybe my battery was dead. But I got in the car, and all the lights were on inside. So I realized, it hit me all at once, that the reason why my car was dinging was that my key fob battery was probably low and was dying. So being in the airport, and I'm already out of the building, I had no way to buy another battery. So it was a pretty awkward situation. I had to call, and my wife came out to rescue me. It was an unfortunate end to a otherwise worry-free vacation. I had to get my other key delivered to the airport. Pretty sad. But then, everything worked out fine. And, 30 miles from home, the airport. But I figured it out. Now, just slightly over a 4-mile drive from that exact airport, the Cleveland Hopkins International Airport, there's a small street in a city called North Olmsted, Ohio. Now, North Olmsted actually used to work there years ago, about 19 years ago. Worked there for a few months. It's on the west side of Cleveland, as they say. And on this small street in North Olmsted called Virginia Avenue, some of the residents noticed that their key fobs, as well as their garage door openers, were not working at all back in late April. And it started to add up. People started to talk, their neighbors, hey, my stuff's not working. Is your stuff working? And dude, no, mine's not working either. What's going on? So people called garage door repairmen. The garage door repairmen started to talk. Nobody could figure this out. And nobody knew what was happening. And they realized that this is pretty widespread problem in this area. And they even had ham radio operators come in. Television repairman came out. The cable company got involved. Even AT&T joined in the search to find out what the issue was. What was discovered was that a frequency was being emitted that was interfering with the electronic devices, which made them not able to work with the signals that they had. So they're being overpowered essentially by another signal going on in the area. So Dan D'Alessandro, who is a television repairman and a ham radio operator, went to the location, and after walking through the neighborhood for a little while, he was able to determine where the signal was being emitted from. He found the strongest signal coming from a specific house. So inside the house was a special needs resident who he'd actually designed a battery-operated device. The article says that he turned off a light to let him know that someone was upstairs in his home. No harm, no foul. Once the battery was removed from the device, the key fobs and garage doors worked normally throughout the neighborhood. City Councilman Chris Glassburn was the one who knocked on the door, and with the help of a person who was an expert in radio frequencies, they explained it to the residents who were in the building. What was happening and what was the occurrences. And they gladly took the battery out of the device so that the neighbors could actually get in their vehicles and start their cars and go to work. Not all of the key fobs were not working, only some of them. So people were confused by that. They didn't know if it was brand specific, if there was some kind of sabotage going on, or Russian spies, or who knows what else other kind of thought processes were going on. And even the fact that NASA has a building basically down the street from this location, literally about 2 miles away from the street. People were wondering, could it be NASA? Some kind of conspiracy theory. But nonetheless, it was discovered that somebody just had a homemade battery-operated device that turned on a light. This person, apparently a special needs person, it was an inventor, basically, very knowledgeable with electronics, and built this thing for themselves. Instead of going to Amazon or Googling something on how to buy some, going down to Walmart down there in North Olmsted and buying a device that does that for you. So again, no intention of sabotage. It was just a byproduct of technology working against itself, which it's weird. So a signal can make you not be able to get into your car. That's pretty scary. So of the homeowner, Mr. Glassburn said, quote, he has a fascination with electronics. The way he designed it, it was persistently putting out a 315 megahertz signal. And that is the frequency many car fobs and garage door openers rely on, unquote. And honestly, I'm surprised that this doesn't happen more often. Maybe not this specifically, but that other technologies aren't hindering us from using other technologies. Strange stuff. And one more big news story. I think it's big. And it's not necessarily paranormal, but this is extremely intriguing, I think. And it's still unfolding in the cold waters of northern Norway. And no, it's not the Northern Lights. It's in the cold waters of northern Norway. So you might have read about this. You might have seen this latest video that popped up. That's really what made me determine I definitely want to talk about it here on the show. But it started out with last week, a fisherman outside of Hammerfest, Norway, discovered a beluga whale swimming with what appeared to be a harness attached to it. I mean, was somebody riding this thing around? Somebody taking it on trips? You know, is this how we take cheaper cruises, by strapping ourselves to the back of belugas and going around the ocean? I don't know. But that wasn't the weirdest thing. Not only was it wearing a harness, but they were amazed at how the beluga whale acted. It seemed completely oblivious to the fact that it was a wild animal, and it seemed to hang around the fishermen. Came up to the boat, and they were able to touch it, and it seemed to them that this whale was probably trained. And not only that, but the beluga kind of got attached to the fishermen. It's not like they caught it and did anything to it, but they went back to Hammerfest. That sounds like an awesome name. If I were to name a city anywhere in the world, I think Hammerfest would be pretty high up on my list. I think that's an awesome name for a city. So the beluga whale actually followed the fishermen and their boat back to Hammerfest, and locals, well, they started falling in love with this beluga whale. Researchers came out. They did finally get the harness off of it. People were actually swimming with this thing. So don't recommend, unless you wear 2 pairs of trunks, because it's awful cold in that water. This is northern Norway. It's awful cold. You got to have a dry suit on, not just a wet suit, but a dry suit. It's cold. So the beluga made its way down, or I guess down to Hammerfest, swimming out there in the ocean. And people were shooting videos of it, doing tricks. So people would kind of move their hand around, and the beluga would actually spin around in the water. Quite amazing. So it's kind of obvious that this beluga was trained by somebody somewhere. And there's a lot of speculation running around about this. So they got the harness off of the beluga whale, and it was on the harness's buckle. So the buckle that put it together were the words "Equipment St. Petersburg." The harness appears to be a custom made, and the harness has attachments on it where a GoPro or other action camera could slide into it to take video. So this has led to speculation that the beluga is possibly a trained spy, or trained with other talents to aid the Russian military. So I think we should take this beluga whale out, strap it to a chair, put a light in its face, and ask it 100 questions. Maybe put some toothpicks under its fingernails. No, let's not do that. That's not nice. I don't know about spy. I don't think it's a spy. I think maybe it was trained by the Russian military. Maybe. Granted, this is just speculation at this point. Russian officials have yet to comment on the matter. So they have not said anything. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they just, maybe if you buy them some vodka, maybe they'll talk about it. I don't know. Some locals feel the beluga may actually just be an escaped animal, escaped from activity or captivity, and it's been known that Russia has released captive belugas into the wild at times, but for it to end up where it's at, it's just kind of odd. Northern Norway, it's actually where it's supposed to be. And according to a marine biologist, the beluga is obviously trained. It's obvious. But wearing a harness, that certainly points to a different direction. It adds some questions to it just being escaped or released from captivity. I don't think it could escape. What did it do? Run away? Steal a truck? I don't know. So people are wondering, what's going on? Is this a Russian spy whale? Now, the Russian Navy is known to have trained belugas. Marine biologists also commented on this, that they train belugas and other cetaceans, which are whales and dolphins, to perform work such as detecting mines and torpedoes, as well as divers, and even finding objects underwater. But fear not, Russia's not alone in using sea animals to do their basically dirty work underwater. The United States is also known to use cetaceans with the what's called the Marine Mammal Program, which was exposed back in the 1990s. So Pacific bottlenose dolphins are known to be used for mine detection and clearance detection, and were known to do so during the Iraq War. So essentially, dolphins helped ships find safe passage, avoiding mines, so they could deliver aid. It's not like the dolphins blew themselves up or anything. It's not like they ran themselves into mines. They were communicated. They would find things and would come back and actually communicate that information. Kind of like Lassie. Lassie barks twice and you get like a whole paragraph of information. The dolphin would come up and make its flipper noises. And people would say, 16 degrees west by 4 degrees south at approximately 15 fathoms. Thank you, Mr. Dolphin, for that information. I don't know. I don't think it worked that way, but just kind of dreaming out loud. But yeah, it's not like the dolphins were in any harm. They just were detection. Would it be anything than if they were just swimming around anyway? It said that these dolphins, and this is amazing. I had to put this in here. It said that these dolphins can be transported and deployed with a C-130 cargo plane to anywhere in the world within 72 hours and have adapted to a variety of water environments around the world. It sounds like Navy SEALs, but they're dolphins. They're not SEALs. But yeah, special forces. I wonder if they get stripes and they smoke cigars and they have helmets. What if they paint them green? Nah, probably just, their color alone is pretty cool. They kind of blend in with the water. But I wonder if they get stripes, little tattoos. Do they get tattoos? Because do you get a globe for when you go south of the equator or something like that? I forget how it works. I'm not in the Navy. Makes me wonder. So some dolphins have been retired from war service, and they actually guard ships that are in ports. This I did not know. They can detect divers swimming near ships underwater where no other technology would be able to pick up the presence. And they've even guarded nuclear submarines as well that are in ports. Pretty cool. So sea lions have also been used for detecting and retrieving U.S. naval torpedoes dropped accidentally on the ocean floor. These animals have helped recover millions of dollars worth of potentially lost instruments, and with much more efficiency than what humans could do. Sea lions. The thought is, again, this could be a trained captive beluga. And this thought has led to the concern that this animal may actually find it hard to adapt to being on its own in the wild. Now you couple that with the fact that people are now feeding it, and it's become an attraction up there in Norway, and it's staying in the area. It's beginning to complicate things a little bit. Some have suggested that the beluga should be removed and transported to a sanctuary in Iceland in order to improve its chances of survival. Unfortunately, belugas are known to be kept in captivity in aquariums all over the world. Sadly, I've seen quite a few of them. Some of them seem okay. Some of them they look like me at work. They just don't want to be there. I should have said that publicly. Sorry. No, I was just kidding. Some Russian whales are thought to be, have been released, like I mentioned. So Russia is thought to have released some of these guys. But with a harness, I don't know. I don't know. But I wouldn't worry about being a spy, as a gathering information. Maybe it's a double agent. I don't know. Belugas are known to live in the area, so it's not uncommon. It's not like it's living outside of its known range of the Arctic and subarctic oceans. And the latest news that's been put out about this beluga is bewildered people. I think it's interesting. And some locals will miss having this beluga in town if it is by chance taken away to a sanctuary in Iceland. As a matter of fact, it's thought that the same beluga performed an amazing feat that was recently captured on video. I'm pretty sure it's the same exact beluga. So 2 days ago, a video appeared on Instagram, which was filmed in Hammerfest, of a beluga swimming slowly to the surface as onlookers touch the water. And you can see onlookers looking down into the water, hands tapping the water. People were trying to pet this beluga. They're wild animals. I would never jump in the water with orca. I trust him. Having the opportunity, I could have done it once or twice, but no way. I'm not doing that. As the animal broke the surface, a hand did reach out and actually retrieved an iPhone from the mouth of the beluga, which had been dropped into the water. Not the mouth of the beluga, but the phone was dropped into the water. Weird. Now, the owner had laid down on the dock to get a closer look at the beluga when the phone accidentally slipped out of her pocket and landed in the water. Oops. Oops. I wonder if they have... so we've got coverage for that. That was saved by a beluga. That would be interesting to get it out of the bottom of the bay like that. So the beluga whale actually came in handy. And I do have a link there I'm going to throw in the chat room of the video. But fear not, if you were not able to make it to the chat room tonight, I will be putting out some of these links about some of these stories, well, all these stories I covered, throughout the week, over the course of the next few days, through Facebook and also Twitter. So fear not. And check us out on the social media outlets. And one quick actual other interesting fact about the beluga. The closest relative to the beluga is the narwhal. And the narwhal is famous for its long, lone tusk. And Vikings used to sell these tusks to Europeans who thought the tusk came from a unicorn. And they would pay for these tusks more than its weight in gold. So that's kind of a paranormal connection right there. And I hope you enjoyed the show. I appreciate you guys for showing up in the chat room. And I do appreciate you, even if you didn't show up in the chat room, listening live or recorded. Appreciate everybody out there. And if you're listening and you were up there in Michigan for the Paracon, I appreciate you listening in. And I had a good time hanging out with you guys up there in Houghton Lake, Michigan. So I'll see you next week. But for now, keep your eyes in the skies, your ears in the woods, the hair standing on the back of your neck, and always keep your mind slightly ajar. And above all else, don't stop believing. For the Paranormal News Insider, this is Dr. Brian D. Parsons reporting.